Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the EEARSS Podcast, produced by Terrier TV here at Titusville High School. I am Frank Alligator Rob. That is Bill Curtis. That is the magnificent Cindy. Cynthia. Magnificent Cynthia. Yes, I forgot.
Oh, is that actually your name? Are you Cynthia?
Yes.
Okay.
We've discussed this like one entire episode.
Did
I think we went
really?
like 5 minutes into it.
Because
yes.
I'm William, but
Does your mom call you William?
No.
Nobody ever calls you William?
No. My mom, because I am junior.
Oh, likewise.
I'm a junior, and so my mom calls me Billy, or she did. And, you get to a certain age where Billy just doesn't cut it for you.
I was just going to ask if we can start calling you
Unless you live in a certain part of the South, because I have cousins who just found out that I don't like to be called Billy. And it was a huge shock to them. They were like, "You're kidding." So, but yeah, no, I don't.
See, I at home, I've always been Ed or Eddie.
What?
Because me, my dad, and my brother are Frank. So everybody I grew up with that I didn't go to school with, that I grew up with, calls me Ed or Eddie.
But that's not your middle name.
My middle name's Edward.
It is?
It is.
I don't know what I thought your middle name was, but that's not what I thought,
I thought it was Alligator.
So for a second, I was like, where did the Ed come from?
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. You mean to tell me it's not alligator?
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask or what day of the week it is. Maybe.
Everyone that I work with that has been working with you thinks your name is Rob.
Oh,
I get that a lot
every
too,
time
yeah.
I'm like Frank, I get a few seconds of a puzzled look, and then I'm like, Rob.
Yes. Alligator Rob.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, it happens. What are you going to do? Me and my dad had a birthday on Monday. So that's how I became Frank, is because I was born on my dad's birthday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens.
It makes sense.
It does. It makes sense. Then my brother, he's just Frank for some
I was
other
going to
reason.
say, how did he also become Frank then?
His father and his mother are not very creative.
Listen, she had a good system. She was like,
She
I'm
just
not learning another name.
If you say Frank in the house, everybody's
comes running.
everybody's there, we all flinch pretty hard.
There you go.
It's a fun thing to do around Christmas time, to say Frank and just watch everybody flinch.
And watch everybody go.
We do that.
There you go.
All right, you guys ready to jump into our podcast today?
Let's do it.
So today on the podcast, we are joined by Jonathan Linder with Mosquito Control. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you, and happy belated birthday.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into...
He controls mosquitoes.
Well,
yeah, they do exactly what he says. So
I think there's a lot more to it, though, than most people understand. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into doing it.
Well, so first we start with these really little remote controls, and we
See,
program
I was thinking
them.
that. I was thinking restraints. They had these little restraints.
No, they're all robots.
They're drones. They're drones. Mosquito drones. I flippin' knew it.
No.
The whole time I knew it.
But on a serious note, if we're allowed to have those on this
Yes.
podcast,
Yes,
that's
okay.
not, I'm not sure.
That was the best start I think we've had to a guest.
Oh yeah,
maybe ever.
He jumped into deep end of the
Oh,
pool.
it was great. Yeah,
That
you
was good.
You went right in there. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Nice. Yeah, so I actually oversee our environmental section, and we have biologists, we have environmental technicians, we have an entomologist, and then we have a whole team of people who maintain our impoundments. So Brevard County is very fortunate. We're blessed with lots and lots of water and no topographical relief. So that equates to lots of wetlands and marshes. And back in the 50s, they figured out that if you build a dike around these salt marshes and flood them during the wet season, the salt marsh mosquitoes have no place to lay their eggs because they actually lay their eggs on the moist mud. So if you keep the mud covered with water, you've just gotten rid of a vast majority of the mosquitoes in this county.
I've lived here my entire life, and I never knew that.
Wow. Well, very good. So see, I've
Thank
already
you.
done something.
Yeah.
I guess we're done.
That's great. Yeah, there we go.
We've been doing a lot of that in the last 10 minutes,
Exactly.
throwing things out there that nobody
yeah.
ever knew.
Yeah. So, basically, Brevard County used to be part of what was called Mosquito County, and it was considered uninhabitable because when you stepped outside, you would get a landing rate, which means the number of mosquitoes that land on you in 60 seconds of about 500.
Oh wow.
Right. And I dare say probably very few people alive today have experienced that.
Yeah. Oh no.
There's one spot on the Space Center called Happy Creek, and Happy Creek is still that way to this day. You step out there and it's I think it's the reason they sarcastically named it Happy Creek.
Creek.
Because there's more mosquitoes that will hit you in the course of 10 seconds than you've ever seen in your entire life.
Right.
You wear a suit out there basically to prepare for it.
I have no doubt. I mean, I personally have experienced 200 on me at one time.
God.
And that was a pretty squirmy moment. Sent me back into the truck, but I can't imagine.
Wow.
So, our a big part of what we do is surveillance. So we have a lot of traps throughout the county, and every week we deploy these traps. We use dry ice because CO2 is what initially attracts the mosquitoes to their victims. And then once they get close enough, then heat or light will bring them the rest of the way in. And so we actually have to have a certain number of mosquitoes in an area before we can treat. So our entomologist, lucky him, gets to count 56 or so traps every week, and the traps range from 0 mosquitoes to our record trap had 54,000 mosquitoes in one night.
Where was that? Or are you allowed to say?
Oh, sure. That was at the end of Wickham Road.
Wow.
Towards the Vieira wetlands.
Wow.
That makes sense.
And that was after Hurricane Ian.
Oh. Ooh.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
Holy moly.
not as long ago as we would like to think.
Well, we had a close runner-up this year in September. We had one at 48,000. So, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we can have bouts of large emergencies is what we call them, but we do a pretty good job of keeping the county much more livable than it used to be.
Oh, yeah.
You see something like that, what are the first steps you guys start taking? Go out there and see a trap that's full of 48,000 mosquitoes.
Right.
Then what?
So we have inspectors who go out every day, and they each have a specific area within the county that they're searching for breeding areas. So if we can locate those, we'll use larvicides. So these are pesticides that kill just the larvae, and mosquito larvae, of course, live in water. And the larvicides we use, though, are called biorational. They are derived from bacteria naturally occurring in the soil, and they only affect the midgut of mosquito larvae. So if any other critter ingests this, they're not affected. So that's one way.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
How long has something like that been around?
Quite a while, longer than you
Really?
think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so the inspectors will search out, and if there's any way we can do a source reduction, say we have a real high count in a residential area, we go out there and there's lots of flower pots and trash can lids and all these things, just dump them. Talk to the homeowners. Dump all this stuff, and you've just gotten rid of all your breeding sources. And, of course, we have the impoundments. And then another thing we can do, if we find a stream or creek or pond or a stormwater swale that's holding water, we have Gambusia holbrookii, also known as the eastern mosquito fish. This is a small fish native to Florida, and their primary diet is mosquito larvae. They actually have evolved so that most fish, their mouth opens straight forward. The Gambusia's mouth opens upward so that they can just swim under the larvae, open their mouth, and slurp them in. We have hatcheries.
So cool.
Yeah, so we have Gambusia hatcheries, mosquito fish hatcheries at our Titusville and Valcaria locations, and we raise these and we'll release them en masse as a biological control of the mosquitoes.
That's awesome.
I had no idea that was going on. That's really neat.
And then the very last resort. So if everything else fails, we know we've got them, then we'll spray. But the use of adulticides is our last resort. We'll try everything else we can, and for the most part, we can achieve a good reduction. We're never going to eradicate them. We only try to reduce.
Yeah.
But occasionally we have things like tropical cyclones, or I don't know if you guys remember 2 weeks before Ian, we just had this weird setup where thunderstorms dropped like 15 to 20 inches of rain.
Oh, yeah.
And so that obviously caused us some issues. But yeah, so that's kind of how we handle that.
You hear about, I know I hear about mosquitoes becoming immune or resistant to different types of sprays. How does that work? Is that really a thing? And
yes.
How in the world do you guys go about handling things of that nature?
That is an awesome question. I'm glad you asked that. So one of the things that our biologists and environmental technicians do is we have an insectary. So we raise our own populations of mosquitoes. Now, we do not release them.
This is
But
oh, I can imagine that's
contrary
the questions
to
right now. Yeah.
many decades
So
of
that's
conspiracy
called
theories.
job security. If it starts getting slow, we'll just no,
You're
no,
right.
Oh
no,
Lord.
no. Please, no one take that seriously.
Yeah.
No
But
one takes
yeah.
anything seriously.
So
on the
we
show.
will capture mosquitoes in the wild, and then that'll be our F0 population. We will blood feed them, get them to lay eggs, and then we'll raise a F1 generation in the lab. And then we'll do what's called a bottle bioassay. So we take bottles, we coat them with our different adulticides, let them sit, and then the next day we'll get some volunteers from our mosquitoes population that we have in the lab, and that they're all wanting to go in the bottles, believe
right,
me.
Yeah.
And then we will see how long does it take for that adulticide, that insecticide, to kill those mosquitoes that are in the bottle. And there are diagnostic times that a certain active ingredient is supposed to kill them by, and if it goes beyond that time, you can have developing resistance or developed resistance. And we could get really technical at this point of the types of resistance, but the main things to know is there are two main types. One is a type where initially the mosquitoes act like they're dead. They're all laying there on their back. And then at the 24-hour time period, you have a bunch of Lazarus insects that are back alive and moving.
What?
So that's knockdown. The other type of resistance is where they get lethargic, but they can metabolize it right then, and it doesn't affect them at all. So the second part of your question, so that's the first part. We monitor all the adulticides we use, and we'll get populations from throughout the county and test them against these different ingredients that we're trying to kill them with. The second part is we rotate the active ingredients. So different insecticides have a different what's called mode of action. It's the way they kill the mosquitoes. So if we can rotate between different modes of action, say we treat area A with insecticide 1 time, then the next time we use insecticide 2. And then another time we'll use insecticide 3. So we're reducing the chance, because resistance, what it really is over time, there's a small population that will have resistance to a specific chemical. And if you continuously use that same chemical, that percent is going to get larger and larger and larger. And then you're going to end up with insects that can't be killed with that ingredient. But if we rotate, the subset of population might not be susceptible to insecticide 1, but it is to insecticide 2. So if we continuously rotate those, we're not creating a resistant population of mosquitoes.
It's taken you guys a long time to get to this point to figure all this out, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many years has mosquito control been going at this point in Brevard County? Do you know?
I'm wanting to say Brevard County started in the 50s.
Okay. With spraying and treating and
Yes.
all kinds of different things.
Yes.
How has it always been these multiple methodologies?
No.
How long ago did you guys start doing all this? Because you have a multi-prong approach going on. And I don't think
we do.
I don't think
a lot
people
of
realize
people know
that.
that.
So
Yeah, I
it's
don't think
actually,
anybody knows that.
Yeah, and it's actually called IPM, Integrated Pest Management, or in our case, Integrated Mosquito Management. I don't know how long we've been doing this approach. I've actually only been here about 4.5 years, closing in
Okay.
on 5. But you can think back when all they used was DDT.
Mm-hmm.
It
Right.
was great for a while, and then suddenly the insects were immune to it.
Right.
But the eagles and osprey and pelicans, their eggshells were getting thin.
Yeah.
So we saw the chronic issues with it, but the insects, all we had left were those that were naturally resistant.
Now, how do you guys, since DDT is a long since thing, the birds of
Right.
prey have all made a huge comeback.
That's right.
What do you guys do to make sure that the things you're spraying now don't have those kind of future effects?
So everything we use has been fully vetted by the EPA. And then the quantities we use, this is what really blows people away. I mean, we're using an ounce an acre.
Wow.
Okay.
And that's a lot of products we use, we're using like 0.6 ounces an acre. So that's like a thimbleful over an acre.
That's amazing that little bit can make a difference. That's
Right,
great. Yeah.
right. And then the other thing is the technology. Now we have what's called ultra low volume spray systems. So they're actual nebulizers, and they make microscopic droplets. And before we can actually treat, we have to do droplet tests to ensure that the droplets are within a certain size category. So we have a microscope and a camera, and we're measuring things that are like 5 microns.
Wow.
And so our target is between 15 and 20 micron droplet sizes. And so this does a few things. One, the droplets are small enough to hit the mosquitoes and affect them, but they're not so big that they're going to affect larger organisms. And two, because the droplet sizes are so small, a vast majority of what we spray never reaches the ground.
Wow.
There is so much. I mean, I knew there was a lot of science that went into what you guys do, but I don't think anybody would have the idea that there was this much going on and this kind of depth into it. This is really neat. How did you get into doing this, and what led you to Brevard County Mosquito Control?
Okay. So I actually went to graduate school later in life at FIT. So we lived here from 2008 to 2012, and then we moved up to Northeast Tennessee. And the job I had up there, I was doing a lot of environmental permitting, water quality, a lot of regulatory type of work. And we had decided we were kind of tired of the cold, the snow, the wind, not seeing the sun for months at a time in the winter.
Yeah.
And we're like, we really like Brevard County. Maybe one of us, my wife or I, can actually find a job down there. And it just so happened that Mosquito Control, Brevard County Mosquito Control, was hiring or looking to hire somebody with environmental regulatory experience and water quality experience. So I was like, don't know a whole lot about mosquitoes, but I think I can learn. But I know a lot about environmental permitting, environmental regulatory, and water quality. So I'll apply, and lo and behold, they hired me.
That's
and
awesome.
then apparently the director thought I was doing a pretty good job, so he moved me into management.
When you first started with mosquito control, were you kind of where we're at right now, going, wow, who could have ever seen this many pieces and parts of this puzzle going on?
Yes. There was a very steep learning curve for me.
I bet.
Luckily, the first year I was an environmental specialist, and so I was doing my main bread and butter thing with all the environmental regulatory side of the house and working with the impoundment crew a lot. But as I became more knowledgeable, then the entomologist, biologist, technicians, all that got placed within my realm, and it's been a great experience.
That's more than I could have ever imagined.
Oh yeah,
That's
crazy.
it's blowing my mind a little bit.
When we talk about mosquitoes, I think a lot of us automatically go to the annoying, the itchy, the bitey, but they're also significant vectors of disease.
They are.
Is there anything in this area that we're on the lookout for right now? Anything you guys are monitoring?
Well, luckily, we're on the downhill slope. We had quite an emergence. I don't know if you guys follow the health department's websites or anything, but throughout the state this year, we had a significant West Nile presence.
Wow.
So we have sentinel chickens throughout the county, and a lot of the mosquito control programs do this. And the interesting thing about chickens is if they're bit by a mosquito that has an arbovirus, such as West Nile, they will contract it, but they are a dead-end host. So if another mosquito comes along and bites them, it cannot contract the disease because chickens, who knew, can seroconvert the viruses in their bloodstream, which means it becomes inert.
That's awesome.
And so
What a unique quality.
right?
Right? Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't like that for the flu?
Right.
I always wondered why chickens were being used for that, but again, it's something I did not know.
Yes. So once a week, we draw blood samples, and what we're looking for is the seroconversion, and each different arbovirus has a unique signature within the serum of the blood, and so we can tell if a chicken has been bit and contracted West Nile or dengue or chikungunya, any of these wonderful diseases.
Has dengue been in Florida pretty
Yes.
seriously?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Southern Florida especially. there's talk about, is it now endemic to Florida, or is it still a travel related?
Right.
Just because South Florida continuously has significant numbers of infected people.
I've seen it occasionally pop up in different parts of the country. They've always attributed it to being travel, but
Right.
that's a game we don't want to play.
Right. So we were lucky enough in Brevard that I think we had a horse, one human, and a handful of chickens pop positive. But all in all, it was a great season for us, because if you look at our neighboring counties,
They had a pretty good hit, huh?
Yes, and they started having chickens much earlier than we did. We were the last county to go under a arbovirus advisory. So you have different levels, and pending so many human cases, so many horse cases, send you to an advisory. Or if you have 50% of one chicken coop test positive in 1 week, that can put you in an advisory as well. And then there's a step above the advisory that's the warning, and that's when planes, helicopters, everything is spraying and treating everything at once. Luckily, we've not been there.
We're in the longest county in the state.
Yes.
Being backed up to the Indian River and Banana Rivers, does the salt water help control the mosquito population, or does that drive it? And how do you guys battle, being in the longest county in the state? I mean, it's got to be nonstop.
Right. So the length of the county, luckily we're only 25 miles or so wide at the widest point, but that's why we have an office. Our main office is in the Titusville airport. We have another office that has almost as much staff at the Valcaria airport. So we split the county in half. Each office does their respective half of the county. And pretty much the assets are equal between the two, except the helicopters are out of the Titusville office. The drones are out of the South office. In regards to the saltwater, obviously we talked about the impoundments already, and so that's how we're controlling our main saltwater species. But we do have unimpounded salt marshes, and so those fluctuate, and when the water comes up and then recedes, if there's any pools left behind, that's where you'll have your breeding. But we have inspectors who their sole purpose in life is to go out and check those areas. And so as soon as we find first instar, let's back up, mosquito larvae go through instars. And so first through fifth instar. So a first instar you can barely see. A fifth instar is about to turn into a pupa. And so when we catch them early enough, we can treat them and knock them out pretty quickly.
Interesting. If there's somebody out there that wants to help control the mosquito population in your yard, you've talked about pots, you've talked about water being held in the yard. What are some other precautions people can take? And if somebody wants to know more about maybe a career in the mosquito control field, where can they go?
Sure. So precautions or actions that the regular homeowner can take, obviously we call it dump tip. So if you have those water saucers or any containers, once a week, tip them, dump them. If you have bromeliads, there are 2 mosquito species who specialize in breeding in bromeliads. Obviously, we can't just pick those up and dump them or tip them. But if you take your garden hose and you flush them out once a week, you're displacing those larvae and putting them on the ground. And so now you're short-circuiting their life cycle. So that's another option.
I did not know that, and I feel so guilty
hearing
that. I have tons of bromeliads.
Yeah. So the best thing you can do is flush them out.
Oh,
Yeah, they do hold a lot
I'm
of
part
water.
of the problem.
Right. And as far as a career in mosquito control, you can, to be an inspector sprayer, we have the inspector sprayer trainees. All you need is a valid Florida's driver's license and a good work ethic. Like to drive around, don't mind getting bit by the occasional insect.
Job-related hazard.
Yep. And and then if you want a different type of, biologist or entomologist, obviously that's going to require you to go to college and get that biology degree or that entomology degree. But if you don't want to go the full 4 years and you just want to go 2 years, then you can get an environmental technician position.
Interesting.
And we actually, if you're pretty good with heavy equipment or like manual labor, you can go in to the impoundment team.
There's a lot, man. There's so many pieces to the puzzle.
Yes.
You talked about drones a minute ago. What are you guys using drones for?
Everything.
Everything.
So we have surveillance drones.
Like mosquito surveillance drones?
Yes. So we have high definition cameras. We'll fly them over some of those unimpounded or even the impounded salt marshes, and we're looking for breeding areas.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Then we don't have it yet.
So, I mean, is there like a type of technology or something that helps you guys identify certain areas or?
Well, so that's where I was going.
Yeah.
There is a thing called a LiDAR.
Okay.
And what it does is, it bounces the signal up and down and it maps the topography. And it can actually do that through vegetation. So we can see low areas that potentially could hold water. And then once we identify those, we could either use a larvicide drone to treat that area with larvicide or send a person out to verify. And so we have some fairly large drones that can carry a significant amount of larvicide. And then we also have drones capable of adulticiding.
You guys have drones that carry fish too?
Not
that
yet.
would be the coolest thing ever.
Not yet, but we have discussed it.
Really?
What? That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay, I was like, man, if you got drones that can carry that, you probably got drones that can drop a fish somewhere too.
Yeah.
Because that's the next jam up idea.
Yeah. We've talked about that.
That's crazy. What are a couple things that people don't know about your job that maybe you'd like them to know about?
Wow, that we haven't already discussed.
Right.
Yeah. Give me a couple random facts
'em
that
on the
maybe
spot.
we wouldn't necessarily know about that are just random things you guys deal with every day.
I don't know. I feel like we've already covered
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much.
I know. I know you with what you guys do spraying. As a beekeeper, I've kept bees for a long time. I know what most people don't realize. Mosquito control gets a rap for, man, you guys go around and spray everything. Well, yeah, if you make a phone call over to mosquito control and tell them you're keeping bees, they will not spray near where you're keeping bees. You guys have always been good about that.
We try. However, it's important to point out that bees are active during the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
At night,
They're locked up.
they want to get in that hive, stay warm. So we typically spray at the earliest a half hour after meteorological sunset,
Yeah.
which means the majority of your pollinators, they're going to be in their hiding places.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it is, I have yet to see a time where mosquito control, our actions have affected a hive. We've been
Yeah.
accused. And of course, FDACS, Florida Department of Agricultural and Consumer Affairs or Services, they will do an investigation. And every investigation that we're implicated in, we are not the culprit.
Yeah. There's so many things affecting the other insects like bees. I mean,
Yes.
between the moths and, I mean, there's a million
Oh.
hive beetles. There's all kinds of other insects that are affecting them.
Mites.
As someone who's kept bees for a long time, yeah, it's that's usually the last thing of their worry is a little bit of bug spray somewhere.
Right.
Yep.
And again, the bees, they're in their hidey hole. And
Yep. You guys deal with a lot of that of people not completely understanding what your mission is and how you're trying to go
but
about
we
it.
have that, but we have a fairly robust outreach program. So we kind of like this.
Yeah, this is awesome.
But we go to a lot of events, and we will set up a booth, and we'll have at least a biologist and an inspector working that booth and answering all kinds of questions. And then we have packages that we can give out with informational books for homeowners. Then we have packages for kids with little activities and coloring books and crayons. So we do a pretty good job of trying to get the word out. We have a website as well.
Yeah.
So
I've learned so much today.
Yeah.
I knew the work you guys did it's multifaceted, but it's always interesting when you talk to somebody who's really good at their job and have them break down some of the things that are going on within it and how you guys are going about doing this is truly incredible.
good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you all are
Really
learning
awesome.
something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really awesome. Yeah. I can't thank you enough for being here and chat with us.
Again, my pleasure.
Yeah, this has been great. I think this is a good spot to end. This was amazing. My mind is going in so many different directions right now. I'm mosquito drones. I don't know what to do with that.
Frank's gonna have dreams tonight of drones dropping fish.
I am. It's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here and
Yeah,
chatting
my
with us.
pleasure.
This is a blast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. Another one in the book
Yes, sir.
or on website or holding
flash
area.
drive.
The flash drive. There you go. Yes. Oh, it's not called a flash drive. What is that thing called, Bill? The orange thing. What is that?
External hard drive.
External hard drive. There you go.
External
That's
hard
the word
drive.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
there
for.
you go.
Why could I not find that? I'm still thinking of drones. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to the EEARSS Podcast, produced by Terrier TV here at Titusville High School. If you'd like to learn more about EEARSS and the work we're doing, go over to EEARSS.org or alligatorrob.com. They'll take you to the same place. There's 2 B's in Rob. Not trying to be confusing. That is my last name. It happens. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you all next week. Bye-bye.